2 reasons why you're not confident. As usual, I'll bring a very fresh perspective towards this subject. It's never been said in this fashion. I was one of the first people to introduce this concept. You do not solve problems by solving problems. You solve problems by finding the cause of the problem and provide solutions. That is the best way for problem solving. Every single thing you hear on this platform is unique. It wasn't consulted from someone else's content. We didn't copy, studied with personal anecdotes shoved to my audience. No. In fact, it's the other way around. Every single content, every single information put out there is an offshoot of experience distilled with fine communication. So whatever I say on this platform, I have personal experience, personal stories, and the victory lessons to back up my claim. Rest assured, these are not logically devised statements. And some of you are tired with that. You hear something, it's logically sound, but upon application, it produces something different. So confidence is a very broad subject which I would condense into 2 reasons why you're not confident. Sure, you can be cerebral about it. You can try to follow a script, which is, if this outcome arises, here's how I solve the problem. If something like this happens, this is my response. Being cerebral might give you a semblance of confidence, but when spontaneous events arises, you're at loss, eroding every single thing you spend decades constructing. So for instance, you've spent a lot of money on courses, learning game and bruges, how to pick up a lady. But as soon as something external comes along, it upsets your whole script and you revert back to your demeanor of anxiety. And people would see this false front. You don't want to be there to see what happens next. So the best thing you can do, instead of trying to be it. Instead of trying to look like it, become it. It's way easier to become something than to pretend to be it. For instance, years ago, too big now, I was queued up in an office. Some guy cut the line. Hey, come back here. I said it in an authoritative voice. I wished I walked in and every single person in the office was stunned. They accorded me respect immediately, including the lady who was saucy and trying to be difficult with every single person. She understood, upon any form of disrespect, I am willing to push back. The point I'm trying to highlight is, if you're cerebral, you won't be able to pull it off because it's spontaneous. It's about to take your spot. What do? Most of you would explain the situation away and be like, let's not fight over a line. He can go first, I would go next, and be diplomatic about it. Sure, there are times where you're diplomatic. There are times where you do not fight. In fact, fighting over every single small issue betrays insecurity. Those kind of guys who would physically assault staffs or harass individuals in lower echelons of society. As a full-grown man, if you observe that activity from an external standpoint, do you associate that demeanor with confidence? Exactly. So you see, confidence should not be mistaken for arrogance. Arrogance, although it might seem the entitlement of a king, betrays insecurity. The fact that you need to slap another man at a lower position to feel like a man, especially in public, just betrays insecurity. It's a very bad character. And I've said it countless times. You do that to any of my staffs. I don't care what kind of position you hold. I don't care what business you bring. It will end badly. But let's stay on course. Let's not diverge. Before we move on, let's define confidence. So confidence is self-assurance, being sure, being yourself, certainty, belief. You can't believe in yourself without engaging in activities that are difficult. So difficulty is what breeds certainty. Once you've undergone a certain level of experience, confidence is a byproduct. I'm sure most people would disengage at the entrance of the word difficulty because they're used to chanting affirmations, saying things in the mirror. Believe me, that feeling is fleeting, and fleeting emotions become addictions. The time you should spend building something sustainable is spent trying to manifest your way into wealth, trying to chant affirmations to get an outcome. If you were truly it, you will take actions in accordance to producing the results. Please understand, if you are truly the person you say you are, you will take actions in accordance to produce an outcome. If you are truly successful, would you be sleeping in? Would you be lazy? Would you be... Exactly. So you're not it. But confidence comes from self-assurance. And you cannot be self-assured without upsetting people. Which leads us to number one. To be confident, you must be willing to upset people. Upsetting varies from your normal definition, which is making people sad or angry. Unfortunately, the average individual's definition of obsession is anything other than conformity. So anything other than saying yes upsets the other individual, even if it means breaking your boundary. Let's go there. I'm tired inwardly, I cannot move, but you make that sacrifice. You don't speak up. Why? Because you're worried about hurting the other person's feelings. So you're putting the other person's emotion at the expense of yours. It's a terrible place to be in. Why would you consider devaluing yourself to please someone else? As ridiculous as this sounds to the enlightened individual, you and I, we might see it as trivial, but there are people, intelligent individuals. In fact, your intelligence doesn't alienate you from this law. You can be as intelligent as possible, perhaps smarter than me, but yet any other thing than saying yes or not responding to a stupid comment or keeping silent when something useless is said somehow upsets the other guy. You are so aligned to conformity, something stupid would be met with a laugh or a smile. Something you should ignore will be met with a smile. That's how most people live their lives, trying not to upset people. But my friend, very rarely do you upset people by being confident. All you do, I'm telling you, on your confidence journey, the ratio of setting boundaries and not tolerating certain things would far outweigh actual upsetting people. It might seem like the same thing, but they are very different. Setting boundaries means not tolerating certain things, while upsetting people means getting them upset. Yes, the two principles or the two examples would produce similar outcomes, but different mindsets. Oh, come, let's go party. No, I'm busy. Are you trying to? I'm busy. she might be sad. Or, come, let's go party. No, I'm not interested. You just offsetted her. You blatantly told her no. So one is a consequence of boundaries, the other a consequence of indifference. So you must be willing to understand the difference between the two and interpret it very perfectly. And I said it previously, I recorded a video on framing things in the right way. So do well to check it out. 3 days ago or so. Try as much as possible to link it. But framing things perfectly will get you a long way than motivation or discipline would. Because it is not the things that happens that causes pain, but the interpretation ascribed to those circumstances. I'll say it again. What causes pain is not the happenings, but the interpretation ascribed to those circumstances that causes pain. So you and I can look at a flag. One might feel disgusted, the other might feel patriotic. The same object of focus, different perception. Excuse me. My apologies, I know that was very unprofessional, but I changed the environment. Sometimes, my apologies, my friends, this is very unprofessional. I just walked up after spending hours of my time recording, shouting at the top of my lungs, only to discover a network provider sent some kind of shitty message causing the video to end abruptly. Now I have to start from the beginning to record. It is disgusting, it is painful, I am furious. Not necessarily because of what they did, but the process it will take me to recall every single thing I have said. So I have to start over the points I just communicated. It's annoying, my friend. I should be doing something else. We move to number 2. Energy and tonality. Energy is something you cannot recreate. We all have this friend, not have this friend, we are all aware of this kind of guy who is desperately trying to fit in by being the life of the party. On an external perspective, he might have the semblance of confidence, which is the high-pitched tone trying to make everybody laugh, that awkward laughter after every single joke is told. Always trying to fit in. We all have that kind of person around our space, or at least you know someone similar. Why are they awkward? Their energy. They have the semblance of confidence, but they're lacking in the energy. The energy that is congruent with that habit is grossly lacking. Therefore, you ascribe them as not confidence, as an imposter. I've said it countlessly. The best way is to be it, as opposed to pretending to be it. You would save yourself a lot of problems, a lot of nonsense along the way by just becoming it. Energy is something you can recreate. Energy is something that is a byproduct of a lot of difficult experience, a byproduct of self-assurance. Energy and tonality is number 2. Energy and tonality is something you can recreate. The reason you've endured up until this point, irregardless of the failed camera recording, what's a better way to put it? The lack of professionalism. Yes, I accept. I was very unprofessional in today's video. The camera was lacking, the atmosphere wasn't properly regulated. It's my fault. But one of the things that got me to try and record as immediately as possible, I've been putting it off. I have a lot of things on my table. Once I'm done with this video, there's a company I need to observe. Once I'm done with that company, I need to take phone calls on XYZ. There's a certain percentage of finance I'm supposed to address today. There's a lot of XYZ on my table. So I've been putting this video off. I just decided to turn on the camera and start. This is very spontaneous. It was not scripted. It was not rehearsed. Every single thing comes from pure experience. My content isn't relied on other people's content or trying to make something for the purpose of making something. Every single information relayed on this platform is from a back end of real life experience, backed up with the victory lessons. Energy and tonality is something you can't recreate. You've been entertained up until this point, or you've learned up until this point. Regardless of what belief you fall under, one thing is consistent: you are here. One of the things that kept you up until this point is not necessarily my face, which is very handsome, or the content, but the way the content is communicated, the varying of tonality, the different variation. I know when to go high, I know when to go low, I know when to go on a 5-minute rant, I know when to speed it up a little bit, I know when to stop, I know when to pause. All of this are coalesced to make the perfect video. The point I'm trying to highlight, simultaneously conceding how to regulate tonality whilst communicating, is difficult because you cannot hold two thoughts at the same time. You cannot think two thoughts at the same time. And you're fucking stupid for doing it. You're fucking stupid for trying. Attempting to hold one or more thoughts, or two or more thoughts, leads to anxiety, which upsets the energy we talked about, but then reflects on your tonality. It's very difficult to speak confidently when you're scared. Notice the trembling in your voice. In fact, when it has nothing to do with you, but you're in a very precarious situation. For instance, you visit a place, something's missing, you already know by default you're a suspect. The understanding in and of itself affects your voice. It trembles a little bit. You overreact. You over defend yourself. I'm not going into the story of whether or how to lie, or the psychology in lying, or the over-defendance of yourself means you're guilty. That's not what we're discussing. The point we're trying to highlight, the emotion reflects on your voice. This is something that happens unconsciously because, for instance, over the duration of this video, your facial muscles were tensed, but once you pay attention to them, they release. You no longer pay attention, they go back to match your emotional state. To solve that problem, you do not try and pay attention. To solve the problem, you change your emotional state. You regulate your emotional state. I've told you, you do not solve problems by solving problems. You solve problems by finding the cause of the problem, provide solution. For the sake of time, we'll end it here. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.